Hello, 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 hello. Good morning. Good morning, everybody. How are you? Good morning. What a morning it is. What a morning it is for us. We deserve this. We deserve this as United fans. We really do. We really do. Cannot believe it, actually. Just give everybody a minute to get in here. Good day. Good day. Hello. Ooh. Leny Yoro. Leny fucking Yoro. Leny Yoro. Can you believe it? This guy right here. Leny Yoro. The dude. The man. Unbelievable. Absolutely unbelievable. How y'all doing? Good morning. How are you all? His middle name, I'm pretty sure, is fucking. Leny fucking Yoro. It is now. Sorry. We will do the intro. We will do the intro. We do have a special intro. We do have a special intro. It's a good day. It's a good day. Leny. We do have a special intro. We'll talk about it all. We will talk about it all. We will. We will. Is it really Olivier? Like Giroud? Is it pronounced like the same? I actually didn't know if it is. What would Greenwood and Wan-Bissaka money be used for? We'll talk about that, Stuart, and thank you for being a member, my friend. Thank you for joining, and once again, anybody who wants to join and become a member, please do, and I will give priority to your questions as the chat gets very, very full. So it's Olivier, and I pronounced it right? I pronounced it right, like Giroud. Olivier. Leny Olivier Yoro. I know, 7:30 in the morning for me, Kwesi. I've been up for 4 hours now already, so the expletives are coming. The expletives are coming. All right. There's enough people here to start. There are enough people here to start, okay? So I definitely want to get started. Matthew Fox, thank you. Welcome to the Pro Muppet. I don't know why it's called Pro Muppet. I have to figure out how to change that, but it is what it is. You're a Pro Muppet now. Congratulations. Thank you. So let's get right into it. Let's get to the intro. Yeah. It's a crazy day. Crazy day. So much happening. So let's see. You've been a Pro Muppet for years. Yes, you have, Matthews. And I need to get back to you about coming back on the podcast. I promise I will. I'm sorry. Get inundated with requests. All right, let's start. No more stalling. Take my money twice a month. Now, oh, you're in. Yeah, of course, because you're in the Patreon too. Thanks for that. Thank you. All right, intro time. Ready? So we're going to talk about Leny Yoro. We're going to talk about De Ligt. We're going to talk about Wan-Bissaka, Scott McTominay. We're going to go over a chart. We're going to talk about the fullbacks. We're going to talk about all of it. But first, a special intro, of course, from our good friend Jevin, if you have not yet seen it on Twitter.
Leny?
Leny Yoro.
There you have it, Mr. Leny Yoro. Thank you, Jack Martin. Welcome to the Pro Muppet membership. Thank you. Yeah, good times. So let's see. Let me switch over and just let's see what's going on here. Let me get my screens all set properly for the things I want to share. Make sure I'm not gonna like accidentally do anything stupid. Before I move on to my screens, because I want to show a bunch of things. I did a video yesterday on Leny as well. Let's go to my Twitter. See, look, the DMs. You gotta be careful not to share the DMs. So yeah, obviously this morning, what happened? What happened this morning? David Ornstein, Leny Yoro flying to the UK to take medical and finalize personal terms as Manchester United push. Hey, Stephen Howson. Well, good to see you, buddy. Thanks for coming in. And I'll have to see you in Los Angeles soon. I saw you replied to that, and you'll be there. Good to see you there. So United pushed to complete the signing from Lille, 18-year-old defender, initially favored Real Madrid, but they accepted that initial bid from us. Still work to do, but now close. And apparently he is undergoing the medical as we speak. I think he actually arrived in Manchester around the time that Ornstein tweeted this, or pretty soon after. So he is in there. And yeah, it was 3:30 a.m. I got a bunch of messages saying Yoro's done, Yoro's coming. So I had to respond. Like Matthews, thank you for the membership, buddy. So yes, that was awesome. Yesterday I did a video on Leny Yoro. I'm not an expert from like a tactical, all of that standpoint, 100%. But I wanted to do this video to share what the situation was with him. And yes, I'm 7 hours behind the UK. I wanted to share what the situation was with him, which was, and you know, there was stuff from mentioning Howson being in the chat, saying this as well, but that I'd heard he was well open to the move to United as of the last few days and was considering it. And then, you know, it seems like that was the case. We finally moved ahead and went for it. And then, you know, the other part of the video, and see, these are some of the things I wanted to share on here that I will, were, you know, let me pull these up. Hold on. You know, I was talking in the video about the kind of the style of what kind of center back Leny Yoro is, because we're losing Rafael Varane. Because we lost Rafael Varane. And one of the main reasons, outside of Leny Yoro being an amazing young talent, just in terms of potential and all of that, is that he's also really fits the what United need out of a center back, that kind of partnership that they're looking for out of a center back. You know, Rafael Varane always was kind of that cover center back to a Sergio Ramos, and you know, at Madrid, and then the same thing for Lisandro Martinez at United in that partnership. And if you watch Leny Yoro, and there's some decent clips and things like that of him, you can see that he does that a lot in terms of covering behind the other center back, running back, you know, running backwards, running towards his own goal, delaying the attacker. It's a little bit stylistically more of a fit for me, running and defending in those channels, similar to what you'd hope that Braithwaite would do. But Leny Yoro is a bigger talent, and obviously he's got to develop. He's got ways to go. He's got a lot more to do. We've got to protect him, but you know, he really can be like a Rio Ferdinand type of player. You know, that type of player, but you know, a ball playing Varane or a Rio Ferdinand region. You know, these are this type of players who he can be, and that's why United wanted him so badly, because of his ceiling, but also his fit into the back line. And it's just impressive. It's just real impressive that they've managed to pull this off. What else did I have on here? Yeah, I shared some of this stuff in the video the other day, just stylistically, what type of player he was, good in retention, good in link up. You know, he's just, there's so many things about him that make a lot of sense. And he's also very good in the air. You know, Varane is amazing in the air, right? one of the best players in the world in terms of in the air. Leny Yoro is pretty good. Where was that? Let me go back to this thing. In the air, he's, where was it? They both don't rush out to contest duels in the air, but 72nd percentile for Leny Yoro at his age is fantastic. More development in terms of strength and things like that will come. Rafael Varane was the 97th percentile, and that was one of my biggest concerns with De Ligt, in specific in his fit next to Lisandro Martinez, is De Ligt is a super high volume aerial defender, Here, I'll just show this briefly. You can see, let me see if I can find it on here. Over on the right, he's decent at it, but there's a number of aerials contested up in the top left, and De Ligt rushes out into that midfield and steps up for a lot of contesting of aerial balls. And I feel like there's a lot of risk in that compared to a Yoro who's much more similar to how Rafael Varane plays. So anyway, not to go on and on about it, but that was one of the reasons I was real excited about this move. No doubt about it. One of the main reasons I think he fits better. Now, could we still go back for De Ligt? Potentially. Let's talk about all of that in a second here. Potentially we could. It was at this point, as I mentioned the other day, that Ornstein confirmed yesterday, kind of an either or as of now. They were holding on to the De Ligt deal to move forward to see if they could get this done. And there was a lot of implications because of that they had some hope this was actually going to happen. And then turns out he was open to it, and now here he is. And yes, the other positives, Leny Yoro, he's taller, longer legs, longer strides, faster in the channels, defends. Just overall, will be a better player. And it takes development and all of that, for sure. It takes development. But no, I did, it's funny that Yoro video was only made yesterday in case, and we got to use it right away. So I'm pretty excited about that. But let's pull up, what do I want to pull up? Let's pull up this thingamajig. Yeah, here we go. Let's pull this up. Because I want to talk about a few other things. Actually, let's pull this up, and that's fine. I'm going to put something else on the screen in a second. Let's pull up our chart and look over some things and start to make some more adjustments to all of this. And we'll talk about kind of the overall strategy. But just to kind of catch up on the latest news, you've got as well, what have we got? Yeah. We've got as well here this piece that I wanted to discuss, this important piece of information here, which is Wan-Bissaka. I said there was updates. I put it in the Discord a little while ago. There's this for one, Fulham weighing up another bid for Mctominay. We'll talk about that situation. And then this, West Ham begin talks with United over Wan-Bissaka. He's valued at about £20 million by United. He'd be open to the move. He's wanted to he's wanted to move back to London for some time. There was talks over Palace even last year, but it has not, happened as of yet, and they're not really interested right now. United definitely open to a sale at the right price. And he's somebody that West Ham he's not their only target at the moment, but it seems as though, they're kind of ready to move forward on that. So let's kind of go through our chart now. So up at the top, we've got Xerxes, who's done, right? So we got our striker in. We got our number one choice striker in. Top target done. Now we're still seeing links to Tony and Dominic Calvert-Lewin, but I still don't see us moving for another striker at this point in time, but we'll leave these names on here. I'm going to put them all in red because I really don't see us buying a number 9 with the kind of money that we have. At right wing, same thing. There's not really a lot of options. It's, if Greenwood was sold and Sancho sold and Pellistri sold, and depending where we spend elsewhere, maybe we revisit this. But as of now, Sancho's kind of returned, which was a little bit of a surprise. He could still be sold. The situation with him remains that he still absolutely could be sold. He could go, but not yet. And we need an option for him to actually be sold. They're still open to selling him, but we'll see what happens. And we'll see, where it ends up. We need some decent offers for him to come in if that is going to happen. And right now, obviously, it's a little more likely that he stays, as we do not have those offers. So if he's sold and United have the funds, then they could essentially move for somebody else in this area. And there'll probably be other names. I don't think Nico Williams happens. He's expensive. I mean, very expensive, right now. Maybe later. Later. He's 45 million, but he's also on 200K plus wages. It's kind of an interesting one, and he looks like he really wants to go to Barcelona. So I'm not seeing much in the forwards. There's also been talk of Xavi Simons being potentially of interest. We could throw him in here in kind of the forward thing if a loan was viable for him. Because since he kind of can play across it, we could kind of put him up here somewhere as a potential option. Someone that Ten Hag would like to bring in that could go on loan. I don't think it's going to happen, mind you. But maybe there's something in that. Desiree Doué, the issue is his price is really high. So it's also being chased by kind of the same clubs, PSG, Bayern, right? But his price is a lot higher than was initially mentioned. It was, it's like 60 million euros, something like that. Moving on, let's talk about right back. James, I'm hearing Taz being sounded as a Brentford alternative. Could be. Yeah, and we'll definitely talk about that. At right back, so it's sort of interesting because what we said here was if Wan-Bissaka was sold, we kind of listed West Ham, Galatasaray, Everton, and they could be options. We could have options here now. Now, who are we going to get? Coyote, I have not heard much more happening on him as it stands. Devin Wrench, we haven't heard anything happening there. I had him in there because Ten Hag knows him and likes him, and I think was interested in him. Now, Kyle Walker-Peters is the other name I believe that West Ham want. So if they get Wan-Bissaka, he's available. Now, one of the reasons I put Kyle Walker-Peters on here is because he's a Premier League experienced player going for about, I think, 20 million pounds, about the same as what Wan-Bissaka would be sold for. And he plays both sides pretty well. So if we move Wan-Bissaka and we've got Shaw and Dalot and kind of Malacia working up his fitness, someone like Kyle Walker-Peters makes sense. He does make sense. And I think, and if he's available because West Ham buy Wan-Bissaka, then it would be something that would be well worth United checking out. He's also, if I'm not mistaken, right, he's been under Jason Wilcox at Southampton for the last year, right? But that's also the same reason Kadioglu makes a lot of sense, with potentially a much higher potential. That's why one of those two, for me, makes the most sense. Now, we don't really have any links to Kyle Walker-Peters at the moment. We've had interest in the past, but I kind of have kept him on here because it's a deal that's made a lot of sense to me. Kadioglu, we have a few little links to, right? Which is we have this journalist in Turkey who's been talking about how United are interested in Kadioglu to join, and are potentially looking at him. We know that Brighton are looking at him. We know that other clubs are looking at him. He's very versatile. He's younger. He's right-footed. Bear that in mind. So, he might be a little more suited to being a backup right back than a left back in Ten Hag's system. Either way, though, I mean, there's different options. But he's a decent player. He's played across the board. Yes, you can get hyped over Leny Yoro for sure. And So that's interesting. That is an interesting one to keep in mind. And as I understand it, there's a little bit of truth in that, in United looking at him and United having some interest in him. And I think that he would be a fantastic signing for United just in that flexibility standpoint. I think he could be a good player. He could be a good player. So I kind of keep him there because he's really the only major link that we have. You know, we could move Jeremy Frimpong up, but he's expensive. You know, he's quite expensive. 40 million pounds, I think. What was his release clause? It was 34 million or 43 million pounds. Or was it euros? I don't know. Fabrizio had mentioned it and a few others, but he's got a pretty expensive release clause in terms of especially that it's like a how would I put it? Like, yeah, 34 million pounds. Okay. You know, he just came off winning the Bundesliga at Leverkusen as well. Would he be a backup? I don't think he would want to come in and be a backup in that respect. He'd probably want to come in and start. He's more of a winger than he is a right back, especially, you know, probably in the Premier League. I think he'd struggle a little bit in that position. And expensive. So I can't see us putting that kind of outlay there. Now, one little bit of math that I want to explain is, let me move this over, that is on kind of FFP. And this isn't that important. Wan-Bissaka, right? We paid, how much did we pay for Wan-Bissaka? What was the total fee? Was it 45 million plus 5 million or we paid 50 million, something like that? 50 million pounds, I think it was. So if we were at 50 million pounds, this is how FFP works, okay? 50 million, thank you. So it's over 5 years. So it's counting 10 million per year, okay? After 4.5 years into his contract, as of January 1st, which I think is when we triggered his release clause, there would be 5 million remaining. And then it would be stretched over the remaining 18 months. Because there's 6 months plus the +1. Okay, this is like really simple, quick math that I believe is maybe helps explain profitability. So it's stretched over 18 months, which means as of today, or as of July 1st, it was something like 3.33 million pounds left on his book value. And that goes down every single day by a small amount of money, okay? So if we sell him for 20 million pounds, I understand, but you triggered the +1 in January. We triggered the +1 in January. That's what matters. Let me make this, well, it's not going to get bigger like that because I'm using Illustrator. We triggered the +1 in January. Let me just get rid of some of these spaces. We triggered the +1 in January. When you trigger that, you stretch the value out over the remaining contract length. So as of July, he was at 3.3 million pounds in value. If we sell him for 20, that represents a profit of about 16 million pounds or so, 17 probably by the time he would be sold, essentially. So that's pretty good. That's a decent thing there. A question, Matthew, good question, because this does happen and it is deal dependent. Sometimes in these deals and +1s, one of the things that does occur is you get, sometimes the players are owed a payout. Sometimes the players are owed a payout. Sure, I can change it to it. Sometimes the players are owed a payout of a portion of what they're sold for if that +1 is triggered and then they're sold. So it just depends on the deal. Like Fred got a chunk of money, but it's also, though that may be amortized. I don't actually know how that works. It may be all at once. I'm not sure, but we should get a decent amount of profit on Wan-Bissaka. And that should, if we're buying someone for 25, 30 million, it's more than covered. It's more than covered. Yes, I'll cover the midfield today as well. If we buy someone for 25 to 30 million, then it is more than covered for Wan-Bissaka sale to bring in a fullback. So that would be a really good move there. Now, so we'll see if any more links come out on there. And the same at left back, though. You know, if he's sold and we were to buy a left back, I'm not saying these are as flexible, but, you know, Aitnuri, Kirkes, these are options that are still there. One of the decisions that has to be made now that kind of complicates this whole thing when it comes to the center backs and left backs and all of that is if you were to buy a left back, you could potentially have Luke Shaw move into backup center back, backup left-sided center back. You could also have Maguire still play left-sided center back and partner with Yoro. It would make sense. Kind of all of that would make sense. There's a lot of potential there, and that might be then free up money to buy a right back or to buy another right center back that can cover on the right. There's a lot of different options that could kind of come into this. And yes, I know that Turkish journalist who did that is very, very reliable. He is. He's as far as Turkish journalists go, for sure. So anyway, there's a lot of different ways that this could go flexibility-wise here. If we move Braithwaite down, Kilman gone. Don't know about these. Ignacio could stay there. And then who's the other name that we got? There's Henko. Is that who Laurie Henko, right? We have a link to Henko from The Athletic. So, yes. So that could be good. All right. So Henko is another option kind of there. Because what we do want is to get a left-footed left center back. And someone who could potentially cover at left back as well. Ta, right. That's the other name we have a link to here. Now, I'm sort of unsure of this. But because he's 28 years old, right? He doesn't quite fit into the model, but we do have a fair number of young center backs as well. Well, not really. I mean, because we moved Willy Kambal on. We have Yoro, we have Lissandro, so you know we need backups for sure. Omkar, thank you for joining. Appreciate that very much. Steve Hosking, thank you for joining the membership. Really appreciate that. So yeah, they don't all have to be young, but if you look at who we're buying this summer, they are. And Ta is right-footed as well. It's sort of a weird one to me. And since we've got Yoro, I kind of feel like maybe he's more like just a Hanchko, is that correct? Okay, thank you. Yeah, Euro done from Plettenberg. Yeah, will be coming. That's not a big. I'm sure it is. Okay, I really am sure that we do not bottle it once he gets to this stage. So that's okay. But yeah, there's some odd kind of permutations of this whole thing now, right? Because there's just a bunch of different ways this could play. And sorry, it could be confusing, but it can be. I'm a pro, been following you for a couple of years, James. Thank you for what you do. Thank you, Steve. Appreciate it. There's just a lot of permutations of how this could play out now. Because now we've got Lissandro and Yoro. We've got Lindelof and Maguire. And we've got Johnny Evans. So if we move Lindelof, then we probably still need a left center back. If we sign a left back, then Shaw could also be that left center back backup. But then if we sell Wan-Bissaka, we need a right back. But could we get a right center back who slides into the right back thing too and sell Maguire? Could we get a fullback who covers both and then we can just get a center back? There's a lot of permutations that could happen here. Let's start back again. So we've gone to the left back. We'll go person by person. We know that Gerard Braithwaite, the issue is they value him far too highly for United. Well outside the range of what United want to pay. Now, could they return for a deal for him or an offer? Yes. Do I think that they are likely to offer what Everton want? No. I don't think they will. I think that at most they could offer a 55 million plus deal, and that would be the final. If Everton accepted that, then obviously United would be over the moon. They've sold Greenwood now. Budget-wise, if you look at where we were kind of at, which I think was really around 75 million, Xerxes about 40. Leny Yoro is about 50 to 60 initially, kind of unclear. So that's around 100. So with the Greenwood sale, I think maybe we have a little bit of money left over, but not a lot. So we do need more departures. If we can move Victor Lindelof, then I think that's what we'll need to do before we buy another center back now. But the price of Braithwaite would be quite high, but we were willing to buy both and a striker. So I think we would stretch for that if we could get a deal at 55 million. Guehi, I think is going to be just as expensive, and that makes it unlikely. Inacio, left-footed center back. If we get a fullback, then he could make sense, but I think he'd also be quite expensive. Hansko could make sense here. He might not be very expensive. Yeah, he might not be very expensive. And then Ta, sort of, I'm not really sure there. So let's keep those in mind. On this side, Leny Yoro. Can you believe it? Leny fucking Yoro. Done. Okay. We're getting Leny Yoro in. So, De Ligt could still be possible. I think you could rule out like a Bremer. It was interesting. There was talk about Silva being kind of the top choice. And I'd heard for a long time he was pretty highly rated. It was Plettenberg or somebody who said he was the top choice, but Ashworth. Or someone came in and said they didn't want him. That's fine. He's quite expensive as well. So it seems like he's moved well down the list here. Ornstein saying it's done. Let's see. Boom. Let's go. Leny Yoro, medical taking place as we speak. Once done today, tomorrow, Manchester United contract will be signed. 5-year deal, option to extend by 12 months. Decided last night to accept for a maximum of 70 million euros. Okay. So that would be including add-ons. Let's fucking go, man. He's doing the medical right now. Okay. So it's 62 million euros up front. Okay, so it is a little bit more. So 62 million euros up front. Okay, cool. 52 million pounds. Cool. Yeah, yes. Here, I'll pull it up. Give me one second. I'll just pull it on the screen so we can look at it. What he said exactly. We can look at it together. And you can see, good friends. Leny Yoro, medical taking place as we speak. Once done today or tomorrow, Manchester United contract will be signed. So again, I believe he arrived right around when you tweeted originally, about 4 hours ago, 3.5 hours ago. And so he's doing his medical. I mean, this is crazy. I mean, I still kind of can't believe this, that this is done, that we've got him. 22-year-old. Yeah, he's got the wrong age, but that's all right. He's aged him 4 years overnight. Aged him 4 years in a few hours. I'm sure he'll edit that. Fantastic, man. So yes, getting this done and Xerxes means that United have got in, at this point, the two top targets in two positions, and young, talented, he edited it now. Okay, cool. And flexible players who can do virtually, what we need in these positions. So impressive. Could we go back in for De Ligt? I'm going to move Chalobah up here just because he's a decent option. Now, Bayern were also interested in Chalobah, or he was interested in them. And I think that, he's a cheaper player who can cover multiple positions. So maybe that starts to make sense. There's a lot of permutations. Like I said, it's a little complicated now because they need to sell. After getting this done, they need to sell. They need to sell Lindelof. They need to see if they're going to sell Wan-Bissaka and then figure out who they're going for next. And now it gets a little bit unclear, what exactly comes next out of United in these areas. So we'll see. I don't think there's necessarily, a standout candidate in terms of fullback. and at center back, yeah, we'll go to the midfield in a second. At center back, there's not exactly a standout either. If they're not going to get Braithwaite, there's not a for sure that we know that they like, right? I'm not saying there aren't good players out there, but it seems like we're going to need to explore the market a little bit. So it's less clear now that we've moved beyond our top targets, but that's good. That's good. Getting your top targets in, it's house money now, in these positions. I'm just going to say this. Because I've said this before about our window. And I'll put a poll up. Let's see what you guys think about this. I'm not saying this is it. I'm just saying if Xerxes and Yoro were the only striker and CB signings, happy? Let's just say that. Are you happy if those were the only striker and center back signings? I would be happy. Yeah, 0 chance of Madrid to hijack this now, 0. Yeah, I would be happy with just those two. If those were our only signings in those areas, I'm not talking about the midfield. I didn't say the midfield. I said as far as striker and center back signings. I said as far as striker center back signings. I would be happy, and I'll tell you why. I know that most people want more. I'm not talking about midfield or fullbacks. I'm talking about only the center backs. The reason I would say I would be happy with it is because I really only want United getting some of the the best players that they can get. And that's why for me, I'd be happy with it. I understand that most people want more, and that's fair enough. I would be happy because as long as we're getting a few top players in, then I think we will progress forward. I know we need depth, and I know we need more, but if not signing another center back meant we had more money to spend on the midfield, you don't even have to ask me. I would much, much rather buy a midfielder than a second center back, for example. I would much, much rather buy a midfielder than a second center back. But it's fine. I totally get it, and I know why people want more than that at center back. I think that Lissandro, Yoro, and Maguire is a pretty good throuple, but obviously the biggest concern people will have after last year's injuries, no doubt about that. So I get you. Good. So we'll have to see where they move to next in terms of these signings, whether they go for a second midfielder. I think they're kind of going to go position by position. And if they sell Lindelof, then they'll move forward with potentially another center back next, or when they sell Lindelof. Now, in terms of Lindelof, they've had talks with clubs in Turkey, but they need better offers. I'd be real interested if he sold Wan-Bissaka to West Ham, Lindelof to Turkey, and worked out a deal for Kadioglu and mixed him in there. Then you'd solve the fullback problems, and then you would actually have more money, and you could get a center back. But let's talk about the midfield. Onana's obviously gone. Dewsbury Hall gone. Fofana's gone too, right? Fofana's going to AC Milan. I think he's already done, or it's close. If I'm not mistaken. I mean, we obviously haven't moved for him, so we're going to take him out of there, and I think he's pretty much gone. A lot of these are red, frankly. Yeah, Zubamendi United have had interest for a long time, but doesn't really want to leave Spain. João Neves, we've seen that the price is too high. Fofana, though, I think the thing is that at the prices that they're discussing, if United were interested, we'd probably be involved in the discussion by now, right? If United were interested. I feel we would be involved in the discussion by now if United were interested in making a move this summer. Yeoman seems quite expensive, and Sporting don't want to sell. After the Euros he had, I'd rather take Fabian Ruiz than Ugarte. Yeah, that's a good player. Deal signed today or tomorrow. Yes, yes, fantastic. Um, let's see. Just making sure I'm not missing anything here. Okay. Amrabat, as we've seen, is still kind of up in the air. There was an interesting piece because, there's been obviously talk, but United haven't moved on it as of now. I don't think we would want to trigger the option because 20 million or whatever the option was is too much for him. So we'd have to negotiate a much lower deal. And I think later in the window makes more sense to me, but who knows? So this is really going to depend on Casemiro, Scott, and Eriksson. We need outs there. Now we need someone anyway, right? We do. But right now it feels like United don't have the money for it. And as we kind of discussed, they still have a potentially 2 or 3 signings that they need in the back. And they need to sell there to get more. We need to sell to get another center back. We need to use our money there. So we need to move players here. And so really the only options are if we can sell Casemiro and Scott, or one of them. Now, as of now, Scott McTominay has interest. And the situation as it stands, as I've mentioned a few times recently, is he is interested in clarifying his future. United aren't 100% guaranteed to sell him. But he wants his future kind of to be sorted out. He's coming closer to the end of the contract. You can have a +1 activated. But he's going to want to know what he's doing. He's going to want to know what he's doing. He's going to want first team football. He's going to want to play more often. He's going to want to play more often, all of that. So once he comes back and he's back today. Is it Wednesday? He's back today. Okay. So he's back today. He's going to want to have those talks with the club about what to do next. He's had people exploring a deal for him on options where he could move. He'll want to talk to the club about whether he gets a new contract or whether he can be sold or what the deal is. And I think the situation with him is if a good offer comes in, there's interest from Galatasaray, but they're unlikely to be able to pay the price. There's interest from Fulham, and it sounds like as of today that they're looking at making another bid after they had a previous one rejected for 17 million. United will want to get around 30 million pounds for him. He's on good wages. Vlado, the fact that we're getting Yoro is huge. Great work, James. Seriously, been on it. I appreciate it very much. So yeah, he's going to have those talks and then we'll kind of clarify. But I think it's going to be down to him. If he wants to leave and a good offer comes in for 25 to 30 million, then he will go. That's what it's going to be. If he's looking to go, then he will. If those offers come in. And since 17 million was rejected, you have to think they're going to come back with something closer to 25. If they do that and he's interested, I think that deal gets done. 25 plus add-ons, maybe. I think that deal for Scott gets done to Fulham. And if that happens, that's a lot of profit. That is pure profitability, 25 million. And, then United would have some money in the midfield to spend. In terms of Ugarte, there's interest there. They don't want to pay 50 million euros for him. If they can get a deal for 35 to 40 million euros, I think they'll do it. If they can get a loan with some kind of option or a decent, like a conditional obligation, then I think they'll do it. Remember that Ugarte is represented by Giorgio Mendes as well, who United have just worked with on this Leny Yoro deal. And as I've mentioned a few times in the past, Ineos have a pretty good relationship with him and have been working with him on certain things. So, that's an interesting one to watch. I would not walk away from it. The interest is obviously there. There's been definitely talk that not everybody is totally convinced. Some of that is probably down to the price as well. They don't want to pay, they're not going to give 60 million, 55 million euros for Ugarte to PSG. They're not going to pay what they paid for him. They want to pay a lot less or get a trial, get an option, something like that in there. So it's kind of depending what would be possible there. see. So that is possible. Now, João Gomez, we've been linked to in the past at Wolves, and United have watched him. He's a potential solution. I think he'd be in the 50 to 60 million range. I think part of the problem is, again, that he'd be a bit expensive. And I'm not sure that they rate him to that level, but he's another good defender, midfielder who's kind of defense first. And then there's Amrabat as a fallback option. And I only haven't moved Gomez down simply because there hasn't really been news either way on him. So we'll have to see. I don't know what exactly they're going to do here. And it's been kind of complicated because, a lot of the talk has been about loans and things. And a lot of that comes down to budget. If they can get that deal for Mctominay done and sold, then I think it opens up the options because there's a lot of profitability on the PSR side of things. And you get a lot more, maybe more options show up. The one thing I'll say is I understand people keep saying we're going to sign someone we haven't talked about, but we're not doing that. If you notice, Xerxes was kind of a top target for the last couple months. We've been mentioning him. Leny Yoro has been a target since, I think, January is the first time I tweeted about us watching him. We bid for Braithwaite. We knew he's been the top target for a year. Matthijs de Ligt. These are not surprises. I'm not criticizing. I'm just saying we're not really making these big surprise moves. We tend to be chasing players that we have been linked to. The difference is we're actually moving ahead with them and kind of progressing it in a normal way. So I think that we're likely to get someone we've been linked to. We're likely to get someone we've been linked to. I would love to be surprised, though. I would love to be surprised. I think Will Fish will go. Andy Mitten said on the podcast yesterday that he's likely to leave. He's likely to be sold. Then there's Eriksson wages as well. That could go. That could help free things up, and he'd be interested in leaving. There's little sales like Hannibal Mejbri. I'd like to send him out on a deal similar to Willy Kampwala with a sell-on and a buyback clause. But yes, I would agree in this respect, okay? Now that we've gotten these top targets done, where things could come into play is, can we get a deal for maybe Vivel or Ashworth, a young center back that might fit in here that's more affordable? Is there a young midfielder that fits in that's more affordable? But yes, and then there's also whether Casemiro will leave or not in terms of the budget. He takes up a huge amount of the budget, and there's not a lot of interest in him. There's concerns that even the Saudi clubs are not going to come into purchasing him. They have been interested. They have been looking at him for a long time. They have been talking to him for a long time. He's open to it. That has to happen, though. We have to, that would be, if we move Scott McTominay and Casemiro stays and we're able to get a defensive midfielder, that's fine. But it would obviously be best that we can move Casemiro on. And ideally, if we can move Casemiro and Scott McTominay on and buy two players, then that would be fantastic. Yeah. So yeah, Mason Greenwood is sold. That's good. So yeah, I mean, now a lot of up in the air. I mean, the main big signings are not done, but essentially done. We've gotten the main guys in. Now the last priority that was definitely there is we certainly need a midfielder. So midfielder, second center back, and at least one fullback is looking likely. Now, if we don't sell Wan-Bissaka, then maybe we don't buy a fullback and we just buy a center back, someone who can cover. So a lot still to do, but some of the major signings done in here. Now I want to put together this, we'll put together a new lineup together. We'll put together a new lineup in terms of what it's kind of looking like, how United might play, how they might show up on the pitch. Let's do this. what things are starting to look like. It's quite exciting, though, I gotta say. It is quite exciting. West Ham Central says Wan-Bissaka's almost done. Well, I spoke to X this morning with the information that I put out on Wan-Bissaka. He's a smart guy. He's obviously incredibly well connected. West Ham. I want to make sure what I was talking about was accurate as well. I spoke to him. You know, you want to know West Ham news, then that's the guy to follow. But the interest is definitely there. The move is kind of coming on strong. Yeah, it definitely is. So let's build out our. Let's build this out together. Let's do that. How about it? Let's build this out together now where we're at. So on the left we have Rashford. Just where we stand right now, we have Sancho. I think that's his best bet at staying in the team. Sancho is at backup left wing. We have Xerxes and Hoyland. Now I'm not saying that it has to be one player starting versus the other, to be very clear, okay? I'm saying that, you know, in some of these areas, these are just the options. But I think that some of this makes the most sense. And then on the bench, we have Ahmad. And I can't put multiple players on the bench, so I can't, like, add Anthony onto here. But, you know, something like this would be our front line as of now. And you've got a lot of options across this, frankly. So I'm not unhappy about it. Let's go the other way. Kobbie Mainoo. And right now it's Scott McTominay, right? And then we've got Bruno and Mount. Now, one of the things that I did note is... no, it's not necessarily going to be Xerxes not starting just because he can't get in the Dutch team. I promise you that. I don't even know. We don't even have options here. We'll say Collier. I don't know if he's in the system. He's probably not in the system yet. One of the things I did note is we've definitely had these two a little closer together. It was a little bit more like this than before. But obviously that could change. That could change in-game. No, the getting the number, these are factors that are not particularly relevant. It's just how they want to play. And there's a lot of flexibility in this. Hoyland could play on the right wing too. There's so many ways that this could go right now. Luke Shaw. Malacia, if he's fit, which I don't think he will be. Lissandro. Lindelof. Yoro. Can you believe it? Leny Yoro, we're putting him in our chart officially. Good shit. Dallo. Mainu Eriksson and Casimir McTominay. Yes, you're right. I forgot about that. Thank you. You are correct. Right. Good point. You're right. This is more like Eriksson. And this is just as of now. Onana. And then if Bayindir doesn't want to stay, maybe Vitek comes into the team. Which there's potential for that. So yeah, this is an interesting team. This is kind of where we are now. I love the forward line. I love the first team. I mean, this is insane as a back line. This starting back line is insanely good. It's well balanced. It has everything. It has incredible ability. It has so much in there. This is an insane back line, right? So that is exciting. You know, that is quite exciting. The front, I think, is great. I think it's got a lot of options. The obvious problem here is in the midfield. You have two great players here, but you need to fix this big time. And then you need backups in here. The midfield doesn't look terrible. I mean, let's be real for a second. We have Kobbie Mainoo and Bruno Fernandes. It's not terrible. It's one player away from being exceptional. from at least the first 11 standpoint, okay? But agreed, it's a huge step. And it's crazy to think, because when you look at the names, this should have been amazing, right? So we look at the next steps and we say, okay, you want to swap out Lindelof, okay? Ideally, you swap out Lindelof and you get, let's just put Henchko in here. You swap out Wan-Bissaka, but realize, like, for the most part, we're talking about depth in these areas. Henchko, Kadioglu. Now, we take this out. We take Casemiro out, and what do we get? That's the issue. In terms of what looks more realistic, you might end up with Ugarte and Amrabat as a backup. I'm just saying, potentially. It's better. It's better. I think it's great. I understand a lot of people aren't super high on Ugarte. I am. I think he would be a massive improvement on the situation. Much better than people think. But something else in here, would make sense. Is there news on De Ligt, or what? What are you guys talking about? Or are you guys asking me to put him in the team? Yeah, you're just asking me to put him in. Oh. He could go in there, but you'd probably need to sell Harry Maguire for Matthijs de Ligt now. But for me, this would be a great starting 11. It's young, too. I mean, 26, 23, 20, right? Oh, gosh, 20, 29, 19, 23, 27, 26, 18... 24, I want to say, 29. I mean, this is a good team with a lot of young players, and Kadioglu could cover both sides. I would take this. If this was what we did, I would take it. If this is what we did, I would take it. If Braithwaite was signed, he'd be here behind Martinez, but he could cover both sides, and then he could slot in there as well. But I would take it. I would take this team. It's not everything, but it's progress. It is serious progress. You've got options across the board. Long term, you probably need another midfielder, right? You probably need another midfielder in here. But maybe Collier gets in there. Some young players step up. Fletcher's over the span of a couple of years. You need more here. But if you did this, that's pretty much all you need is midfielders. And that's the crazy part. You go into next summer, what would you need? You'd want maybe a winger, depending on how Sancho or Ahmad develop. You'd want another midfielder. And then you'd see how your center backs and everybody do. But otherwise, you don't need much else. You've got a team for a long time, for years. And then you start to piece them as players age. You just replace one here, one there, one here, one there. And you build up really strong depth. And you develop them. And I think that is really, really good. I think that's very important. So from what we have now, if we can get a fullback, a center back, and a midfielder in, I'm over the moon. I really am. I'm over the moon. I don't think you need necessarily a backup Bruno, but Mason Mount could be that guy, frankly. He really could. So, yeah, I mean, this is exciting. This to me, this is an exciting time. This, to me, is an exciting team. Yeah, we'll see what happens now, but like I said, the next moves, if we want to get into kind of what would be next now, just to repeat, obviously you'd want, see if we can move Lindelof to move for a center back who can maybe cover left back. See if Wan-Bissaka goes to see if you're getting a full back. See if we can move McTominay or Casemiro out in terms of getting midfielder. And there's talks for Lindelof, there's talks for McTominay, and there's talks for Wan-Bissaka. So it's kind of sell to buy now, okay? It's kind of sell to buy. That's where we're at now. We've made our big moves. Now we need outs. So we need to see progress there, and then we'll be able to move forward in these other deals. Any other questions? It's been an hour. Any other questions that y'all have for me that you want to ask right now? And again, thank you to everybody who has joined as a member. I hope I've gotten to all of your messages, and that way, instead of asking people to donate, which you're always welcome to, if you want me to answer something, you can join as a member and all of that, and get the sweet badge, and and I will read your stuff as well. But happy to answer any other questions. from anybody here. Just checking to make sure I didn't miss anything. So the Telegraph did an article that said that West Ham had entered the race. Sam Dean and James Ducker may prefer to leave as a free agent. Sure, understood. Injuries from Turkey. 1 season remaining. Yeah, serious injuries. Yeah, he wants to go back to London. Right. Okay. Yeah, 15 to 20 million. Yeah, that's about what I've heard. So we'll see if they make that offer. Leny Yoro should be able to play. He should be able to play. He could play Saturday if he has his permit in time. Should play. He'd be able to come into the team Saturday. Why not? Yeah, thank you all. And yes, any word of interest for Ericsson? I haven't heard much, but Brentford could still be involved. And he should be back at the end of the week. So then I think he'll have talks with the club too in order to clarify his future. I only joined for the badge. That's the best part. Next Saturday, what's the date on that? Next Saturday. Well, anyway, the Arsenal game, I will be in Los Angeles for that. I'm flying in on Saturday morning. I'm not going to be there for long, but I will be there Saturday morning through the game, and then I will be gone. I'll be leaving Sunday morning. So happy to meet anybody. I'm not sure if anything's going on ahead of the game there. I'll be at the stadium. I'm happy to meet up with any people if you want to come say hi, things like that. Then I'll then keep an eye on Twitter and all that, and I'll put something out or in the Discord about, at a certain point during the game or beforehand or something where I'll be and we could meet up or something. I will be in the media area for the most of the game, but I'm certainly happy to come down and explore as well. And I did meet Steven and the guys from Paddock last year as well. Yeah, at the convention that was there in Las Vegas last year. But how can you become a member? There should be a button near the subscribe button somewhere in there. I'm not sure where it shows up on your screen. There was some talk about, James, are we like 100% Euro signing for us? Yeah, there's no problem. There's no problem there. Man, Leny Yoro. And then I probably will go to the Columbia, South Carolina game for the one against Liverpool, but it's a little bit more travel. It's a little bit more travel for me. But I'm going to try. But I will try to get to that one as well. What a day. I think it was on the 31st of May on one of these lives that I said United were seriously pursuing Leny Yoro. Actively pursuing him. And here we go. Sometimes it takes a while, but it's worth it. What's the likelihood of Euro deal containing release clause for Real Madrid? Probably very low. Probably very low, I would imagine. A low chance, to be clear. I'm from the Denver area, from around in Colorado. Announcement time? I don't know yet, because it's not done yet. Like, once it gets closer, then maybe. Let's see. I hate sell to buy, but we got Euro. Yeah, well, that's the thing. Like I showed on that team, we probably only need one more player for the starting 11, which is that midfielder. And beyond that, we're talking about depth signings. Am I a South Park character? Yeah. Could be. I know that's what a lot of people know. If I watched more basketball, I might be more invested in Jokic. But I'm actually a Bulls fan in general. I'm from Chicago originally. Yeah, having an older player like Maguire around could help a lot. Xerxes interview in 25 minutes, right? Yes, so we will get to see Xerxes shortly. There's links below the video for membership, for Patreon, for the Discord, for all that stuff in there. Are we going for Delit after securing Yoro, even after selling Lindelof or Wamsaga? The priority would be a left side. The priority would be a left side center back. That is the priority. Could we still go for Delit? Potentially, but the priority is a left side. I know, a Bulls and United fan, so I've had a history of greatness followed by extreme pain in everything. That is what it is. Could be worse, I guess. I do remember the successes, so at least I have that. Yeah, okay. Yeah, well, let me see if there's anything else I wanted to look at or share. Let me just take a quick look, and then I'm going to end it in a second here. Yeah, I think when we're talking about fullback, one of the things is certainly, I believe Dallo is really well in as a starter. So it's really likely anybody we get is going to be a backup. Thanks for all the hard work you put in. Never had interest in transfers, but the amount of effort you and your team puts in swayed me to get involved. Well, don't let it sway too much because it can be frustrating, but at least we're moving into the positive parts of United, and things are going a lot better. Talks with Rashford and the club have seemed to go well, and his priority 100% is getting back to his best at United, and their priority is for him to get back to his best at United. And he's going to stay. At this point, it's 99% that he's going to stay. That'd have to be a monumental offer that he'd be interested in taking, but there's no talk of that right now. And a lot of what's happening at the moment certainly is well aligned with him getting back to his best. I haven't heard anything on Rabiot at all. I don't think he's likely. Yeah, Madrid are mad. I know. So are Liverpool. All right, one more time. I'm going to play the intro for anybody who missed it at the beginning of the video, and then I will see you all later.
Leny? Leny? Leny?
C'est Leny Yoro.
All right, everybody. Enjoy the rest of your day. Xerxes interview out on Manchester United's official channels in 20 minutes or so. I will see you all later for any further news and anything else that happens. Thanks for watching. Thanks for hanging out with me. Appreciate you all very much. And see you all later, okay? Have a good rest of your day. And once we get to the announcements, then we'll talk about more. But Saturday morning, I wanted to mention one more thing. Saturday morning, I will be doing a watch-along for the United game on a new platform. I will let you know about that soon, but it's actually really cool. And I would appreciate anybody who wants to show up and interact on it because I think it's going to be a lot of fun. So if you're around, try it. Without this, I might not do them, but this new platform looks really interesting, and it could be a really great experience for a watch along that actually adds something of value rather than just sitting there listening to me yap. So I would appreciate any of you if you want to join and watch that. If a lot of people who watch it from around the world watch these games, they're sitting by themselves, and if you want to have someone to want to sit and hang out and chat, then that's one of those things that would be a lot of fun. And specifically, this platform should bring something new to the table. So thank you all again. See you later. And